Hello, and welcome to the third day of the Device Authority Summit on Securing Your Supply Chain. My name is Tyler Gannon. I'm the Vice President of Product Marketing and Strategic Alliances. Um, over the last several days, as we've talked about securing your supply chain, topics such as the role of AI and threat detection have come up, zero trust, cyber resilience, and resilience by design. These are all topical to, security issues throughout your supply chain. But certainly one of the topics which we have left for this session today is all around securing the software that's running across your supply chain. And so today I'm thrilled to introduce Benson George, who is really an expert in cybersecurity risk management. He spent some time at BitSite, Finite State, and is the current product marketing director for the CodeSign Protect product at Venafi. Venafi being one of our strategic partners that is really a thought leader in the space of machine identities and software security overall. So with that, Benson, I'll turn it over to you and let you take the stage.
Awesome. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's session, Software Supply Chain Sustainability Through Security. I'm incredibly excited to be covering this topic today, and I think it's top of mind for many of us. My name is Benson George. Just a real quick background. I am with Venafi. Venafi is the creator of the machine identity management category, and as Tyler mentioned, partner to Device Authority. I do lead product marketing for the CodeSign Protect product. And I have several years of cybersecurity experience, both in product management and product marketing capacities. And so prior to Venafi, I was at Finite State. And I bring this up because it kind of ties into sort of the things I'm going to be covering. But they focused on firmware analysis. And before that, I was actually at BitSite. And I think some of you might have probably heard of that. BitSite created the cybersecurity rating and does vendor risk management, so actively monitors security posture of some 40 million organizations. What was really unique about BitSite is that it gave me an opportunity to talk to many teams and CISOs as security events were happening. And so like as they were happening, how are they handling sort of the incident response and things like that. I bring this up because I think together it sort of gives me a unique perspective, having been at several firms that operate in sort of different areas of supply chain security. All right, just a quick review of the agenda. We'll start with the background and before jumping into the fundamentals of software supply chain security, we'll then drill down on one key element of that, having a secure development process. Then we'll wrap up and have some time for questions. And just to set expectations, since this is such a broad topic, I'll be covering several elements at a high level. And I did mention that I'll be drilling down into the secure development process. All right. So no surprise here, right? Software supply chain attacks are increasing. According to Gartner, by 2025, 45% of orgs worldwide will have had their software supply chains attacked. And so that's 3 times what it was in 2021. These attacks exploit trust in software vendors, compromising the development process or even the distribution channels. They have a widespread impact and cost, billions of dollars to organizations. The good news, though, is that organizations are starting to adapt. By 2025, 60% of organizations will harden their software delivery pipelines just to buffer themselves against these attacks. Right. Connected devices have fundamentally changed the nature of software development. We're seeing just a proliferation of connected devices. According to IDC, by 2025, there's going to be more than 42 billion connected devices. And when you think about that, when you think about digital transformation, almost every company is now a software company. And thereby, regardless of industry, businesses are developing code that needs protecting. Fundamentals of software supply chain security. With the increase in attacks, now more than ever, we need to ensure that we're performing the fundamentals of securing the software supply chain. Insider threats and regulatory focus make the issue even more complex. And software supply chain security should be a top priority in any organization's strategy. And so, what does that look like? We'll go into each of these in a bit more detail, but the baseline or fundamentals for building a secure software supply chain include risk assessment, in which you evaluate vulnerabilities and security risks, policy definition, where you establish policies to ensure adherence to security, quality, and legal requirements, software development practices, so for which the goal is to mitigate risks and produce secure software. Because of its relative importance, I'm going to spend some extra time on that section. Continuous monitoring. Here you proactively detect and respond to security threats, vulnerabilities, and compliance issues. Incident response. Before you are attacked, you should establish incident response plans to detect and recover from security incidents. And finally, vendor collaboration. The software supply chain is highly interconnected. So you do need to foster an environment of collaboration and communication with your vendors. All right, risk assessments. Risk assessments help us understand vulnerabilities, anticipate threats, and prioritize our efforts. We should work to identify risks at different stages of the supply chain and evaluate their likelihood and their impact. Vendors and suppliers should be evaluated. We should be assessing their security practices, certifications, and even their incident response capabilities. We should evaluate the security posture of software components and dependencies. We should consider regulatory compliance. These assessments, and there's probably several others to consider in terms of risk assessment, these assessments should be used to develop risk mitigation strategies. Finally, it's important to regularly review and update risk assessments to account for new threats and vulnerabilities. And we know that happens every day. Okay. Policy definition. Policy definition in the software supply chain is absolutely essential. By defining policies, we set clear expectations and requirements for all stakeholders in the supply chain. It enables organizations to establish a framework for assessing and mitigating supply chain risks. This helps ensure compliance with industry regulations and best practices. It includes conducting thorough vendor evaluations to ensure they meet, security standards, and then also monitoring their performance against these standards. Secure coding practices need to be defined and enforced so that you can minimize vulnerabilities. Continuous monitoring measures absolutely need to be implemented to detect suspicious activities or unauthorized changes. By defining policies, organizations create a proactive approach to supply chain security and can align it with industry standards and best practices. And ultimately, defining policy helps enhance the overall resilience of your software ecosystem. All right. Secure development process. Having a secure development process, first and foremost, it's such an important step that I've dedicated a later section to it. But I do want to start with an overview. First off, like I said, it is crucial in building a resilient software supply chain. By integrating security from the start, we can minimize vulnerabilities and mitigate risks. A software development process includes code reviews, automated testing, and then following secure coding guidelines. It also involves conducting thorough vulnerability assessments and promptly addressing any of those vulnerabilities. By prioritizing security throughout the development lifecycle, you can ensure the integrity of software and enhance the overall security of the supply chain. Continuous monitoring. Continuous monitoring is also a critical aspect of a secure supply chain. Secure software supply chain. By implementing continuous monitoring practices, we can detect and respond to potential threats in real time. There's several examples of continuous monitoring tools that can be used. A few common ones include security information and event management, or SIM systems. SIM tools collect and analyze log data from various sources to detect and respond to security incidents. They provide real-time monitoring capabilities and help, help identify anomalies or suspicious activities. Intrusion detection and prevention systems, or IDPS. IDPS tools monitor network traffic and detect intrusions or malicious activity. They help identify attacks targeting the software supply chain, such as unauthorized access or even data exfiltration. File integrity monitoring, or FIM systems. FIM tools monitor changes to critical files and system configurations. So they're able to identify any unauthorized modifications or tampering with software components. Vulnerability scanning tools. These tools scan software components and dependencies for known vulnerabilities. And by regularly scanning and monitoring the supply chain, you can identify and remediate vulnerabilities before they're exploited. Threat intelligence platforms. These platforms provide up-to-date information about emerging threats, vulnerabilities, and malicious actors. Integrating threat intelligence feeds into your monitoring systems, that allows you to stay informed and respond proactively to any sort of potential supply chain attacks. Software composition analysis, or SCA tools. SCA tools analyze the software components and dependencies in an application. They can identify vulnerabilities, license compliance issues, and other types of security risks that are associated with third-party components. And so thereby they reduce the risk of supply chain compromise. So all told, by staying vigilant and actively monitoring the software supply chain, you can ensure the ongoing security and reliability of your systems. Incident response. Incident response, again, just a vital component of secure software supply chain. Inevitably, security incidents are going to happen, and how we respond and how quickly we respond is crucial. So it's imperative to have your plan in place before you are attacked. A well-defined incident response plan enables us to quickly detect, contain, and mitigate the impact of security breaches or vulnerabilities. It involves establishing clear roles and responsibilities, implementing incident detection mechanisms, and also conducting forensic analysis. By having an effective incident response process in place, you can minimize any sort of disruption, protect systems and data, and restore your operations quickly. Regarding the response itself, as if it were happening, when responding to software supply chain attacks, organizations need to take immediate action to mitigate the impact and prevent further compromise. Some examples of incident response measures that are commonly used include incident analysis and containment. This is the first step to analyze the attack and determine the extent of the compromise. It involves identifying the affected software components, the dependencies, and the systems. Then organizations can isolate or disconnect compromised systems from the network to prevent the attack from spreading. Patching and remediation. Organizations should apply patches and updates to fix exploited vulnerabilities. By addressing the root cause, organizations can minimize the risk of a recurrence. Threat hunting and investigation. Incident response teams should conduct thorough investigations to understand the attack vectors and the techniques that were used and the potential impact on sensitive data or systems. Communication and stakeholder engagement. Effective stakeholder communication is crucial during an incident response. Transparency and timely communication help maintain trust and also help manage the fallout from the attack. Enhancing security posture. Incident response provides an opportunity to reassess and enhance security controls, processes, and policies. Continuous monitoring and threat intelligence. Following a supply chain attack, organizations should intensify their monitoring efforts. And then finally, incident response plan updates. Post-incident, you should conduct a comprehensive review to identify any areas for improvement and absolutely incorporate any learnings into the incident response plan. Vendor collaboration. Vendor collaboration is essential for building a strong and secure software supply chain. By working closely with vendors, we can establish trust, share insights, and collectively address security challenges. Collaboration, involves communication, sharing best practices, and conducting regular security assessments. We also gain access to a vendor's expertise and resources and benefit from their knowledge and experience. So being proactive in this communication and with joint efforts, you're better equipped to address any sort of emerging threats, staying updated on security trends, and ultimately implementing effective risk mitigation strategies. Also, one other thing to consider is that by aligning our security objectives and through a collaborative environment, we can ensure that our vendors adhere to security coding practices, follow industry standards, and prioritize security in their products. One thing I want to add here is something that I've seen firsthand, a movement towards collaboration. Organizations used to be very closed-lipped about their security practices. But just with sort of the interconnected nature of supply chain attacks, there is a definite movement towards transparency. All right, the secure development process. All right, as I mentioned, I wanted to carve out the secure development process just due to it being at the center of everything in regards to software supply chain security. So I simply cannot stress enough the significance of a secure development process in the software supply chain. By integrating security measures throughout the development lifecycle, you can build a resilient and trustworthy ecosystem. The first key element of this is vulnerability scanning. Conducting regular vulnerability scans allows you to proactively identify weaknesses and potential security risks. By utilizing scanning tools, you can detect vulnerabilities early on and take any measures you may need to address them. Next, we have the software bill of materials, or SBOM. SBOMs provide a detailed inventory of the software components used in our applications. Another critical aspect is code signing. By digitally signing code, we establish authenticity and integrity. This enables users to verify that the software comes from a trusted source and hasn't been tampered with. Secure distribution and patch management are equally important. Implementing secure distribution mechanisms help prevent against tampering and unauthorized modifications during software delivery. All right, vulnerability scanning and SBOMs. Vulnerability scanning encompasses software composition analysis, or SCA, and static application security testing, or SAST. SCA allows us to identify and manage risks associated with third-party components and ensures that we can identify and address the vulnerabilities that were inherited from external sources. So third-party code. SCA is especially important because third-party code is roughly 80% open source. So testing simply won't be as stringent on that code. SAST, on the other hand, helps us detect and remediate vulnerabilities within our own code base, also known as first-party code. By combining SCA and SAST, we can significantly reduce risk. To enhance visibility and effectively manage software dependencies, there's an artifact called the Software Bill of Materials, or SBOM. SBOMs provide a comprehensive inventory of the software components used in an application. Think of them like the ingredients label on a bag of chips, but for software. And there's increasing regulation where SBOMs are more and more becoming a requirement. With accurate SBOMs, you can make informed decisions to maintain a secure software supply chain. Regarding SBOM accuracy, though, the quality of SCA tools matter as they're used to generate SBOMs. I've seen different SCA tools have a 30% range in the number of components they identified on the same piece of software. So if you imagine that you essentially set up automation to continuously monitor these components for new vulnerabilities, a 30% difference in the components identified by an SCA tool can be huge. The components that don't get identified and thereby don't get added to the SBOM are ongoing blind spots. There's another artifact that's becoming more common. The Vulnerability Exploitability Exchange, or VEX, helps prioritize vulnerabilities based on their potential impact. VEX is becoming common because with vulnerability scanning tools, you're going to generate just a massive number of vulnerabilities, the majority of which are not exploitable. Some call this the noisiness of vulnerability scanning. VEX helps here. It allows you to work with the originator of the problem code to help isolate what's actually exploitable. Again, just a reminder of why vendor collaboration is so important. Code signing. Code signing plays a vital role in establishing trust and ensuring the integrity of software. By digitally signing code, you can provide verifiable proof of the software's authenticity and its integrity. This allows end users to verify that the software they receive comes from a trusted source and hasn't been tampered with during distribution. Code signing also can also assure users that the software has undergone proper scrutiny and adheres to an organization's security standards. It acts as a shield against tampering from malicious actors that are attempting to inject malware or compromise the functionality of the code. With code signing in place, you can detect any unauthorized modifications and reject software that fails the verification process. In the software supply chain, code signing serves as a critical trust anchor because it provides assurance to stakeholders, customers, partners, that the software they receive is genuine and it hasn't been altered. Because of how it is a trust anchor within the software supply chain, there's a long and growing list of major security standards that recommend the usage of code signing as vital for software supply chain security. NIST SP 800-218 and the White House's executive order on improving the nation's cybersecurity are just examples of some of the security standards that recommend the use of code signing. They do that because code signing again allows you to verify the authenticity and the integrity of software artifacts. And so by digitally signing software, you are establishing a trusted chain of custody and mitigating the risk of unauthorized tampering or malicious modifications. So how does code signing work? Essentially, you start with an unsigned artifact. This could be a PowerShell script, a jar file, an executable, firmware image, container image. It could be a PDF, really just a number of artifacts. You have that unsigned artifact. Let's say it's a software artifact, for example. Associated with that artifact is the signing tool. Essentially, what the signing tool does is that it takes the hash of the software artifact and gets it signed through a code signing certificate. It uses the private key of a code signing certificate to sign that hash. Then it takes the public part of the certificate along with the signed hash and merges them back with the artifact. Once that process is finished, it becomes a signed artifact. And this code signing process is the same regardless of what type of artifact you're signing. So as wonderful as code signing is, for all the value that it provides, it does come with some challenges. The code signing process faces three primary challenges, and they occur in the process anytime you want to sign an artifact. The first challenge is the issue of handing over the private key along with the code signing certificate. When the signing team requests a code signing certificate from the PKI or InfoSec team, they receive both the certificate and the private key. This is necessary because all packages are signed with that private key. However, this creates a problem because the private key can end up in various locations within an enterprise. For instance, it could be inserted into the CI/CD pipeline, stored in a VM, placed on a USB. It could be shared with multiple teams. This leads to what's called the key sprawl of private keys, since copies of the certificate are distributed across the organization. The second challenge with code signing is the lack of visibility for InfoSec and PKI teams regarding the usage of code signing certificates. They don't have line of sight into where the certificates are being used, whether they're used to sign 1, 10, or hundreds of artifacts. This lack of visibility hampers their ability to effectively manage and secure the code signing operations. The third challenge is the absence of policy control within the code signing process. It lacks the ability to implement and automate a cohesive, configurable, role-based organizational policy, and moreover, ensure the enforcement of that policy. Since we talked about the problems with the code signing process, I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about Venafi Code Sign Protect. It addresses those challenges, and so in a lot of ways offers an ideal code signing solution. It offers comprehensive visibility into all code signing operations across the entire enterprise. It ensures that all code signing activity is tracked and accurately recorded. It ensures that this visibility enables organizations to have complete records of all code signing activities, empowering them to meet compliance and even regulatory requirements. It provides full automation for the code signing certificate and key lifecycle. It simplifies the process of issuing and revoking code signing certificates. This ensures that the organization maintains control over its cryptographic assets. The automation streamlines the management of certificate keys, and so thereby reduces the chance for error. It provides the ability to identify who signed the artifacts and the time and location of each signing event. This level of granular detail allows organizations to have a clear understanding of who is signing, what they are signing, and when and where the signing happens. This obviously enhances accountability and traceability. So it's much easier to detect and investigate any potential security incidents or breaches. It centralizes and controls access to all private signing keys. This eliminates the problem of key sprawl, where multiple copies of private keys are just dispersed throughout an organization. By centralizing keys, the solution ensures that access is tightly controlled and thereby reduce the risk of unauthorized use or exposure of sensitive cryptographic material. Moving on to secure distribution and patch management. These are both integral parts of the secure development process and the software supply chain. Secure distribution ensures that software reaches end users without being compromised or tampered with during transit. It involves implementing robust mechanisms to protect the integrity and confidentiality of the software during the distribution process. By securely delivering software, we can build trust with customers and safeguard against any unauthorized modifications that could introduce vulnerabilities or malicious code. Patch management is equally crucial. As new vulnerabilities are discovered, it's essential to quickly release patches and updates to address these security flaws. And so patch management ensures that software remains resilient against evolving threats and minimizes the window of opportunity for potential attackers. By regularly applying patches, you are fortifying the security of software and protecting protecting users from known vulnerabilities. Okay, so how can you solve the challenges of traditional code signing plus ensure secure distribution and patch management? Well, Device Authority and Venafi have partnered to seamlessly solve this. Our joint solution protects against supply chain attacks on software updates. It ensures the secure delivery of signed code updates. And just moreover, just to get quickly up and running, there's already pre-built integrations with major IoT platforms and SBOM providers for authentication, authorization, software updates, and machine identities. And pre-built integrations with enterprise IoT platforms, so the Azures and the AWS of the world. All right, wrapping up. So to wrap it up, when you consider just sort of the increasing frequency, I should say, of supply chain attacks, creating a sustainable software supply chain through security is imperative. As a review, the foundational elements to successfully accomplish this include risk assessment, policy definition, secure development process, continuous monitoring, incident response, and finally, vendor collaboration. I do want to stress that getting your process in place for a secure software supply chain should be viewed as a starting point. The fact is that we operate in a dynamic threat landscape where threat actors are constantly evolving their tactics and shifting attack vectors. So you cannot afford to become complacent. You have to stay vigilant. You have to always be learning. All right. One last thing. If anyone is interested in learning more about code signing or how they can mature their code signing process with an eye towards security, Venafi offers a free code signing maturity assessment, which maps your code signing process to major security standards and industry best practices. You can see the security standards listed here. You can find the assessment at the URL below or on the Code Sign Protect section of the Venafi website. Oh, looks like we've got a couple of questions. All right. Just move over there. Sorry. Okay. Who should be responsible for software security in an organization? There's the I guess the technical sort of answer to that falls under InfoSec, but the real answer is everybody. Everybody needs to be responsible for software security, and that is why things like policy definition are important. Everyone needs to be involved. Legal is frequently involved to making sure that you're delivering compliant software. There are stakeholders all throughout the org that play a part in defining that. But ultimately, it is InfoSec that falls under their purview. Another question. What industries are subject to the current regulations around SBOMs and software supply chain security? Great question. So this is an incredibly dynamic space, right? SBOMs were not around a couple of years ago, and they have really taken off. And they've taken off because of the transparency and visibility that they provide into components, right? Into third-party components. And so the industries, like any, I would say, security product, the leading industries are almost always the ones that are heavily regulated. And so when you think about that, you're thinking about the FDA coming down with increasing sort of regulations around having an SBOM, needing an SBOM. You hear about critical infrastructure. And so think about sort of the oil companies or energy companies. We've heard about some of these critical infrastructure breaches and stuff. That's a lot at risk, right? Those are tangible risks too, right? Those are physical systems that could affect lives even. And so those are the types of industries that you're seeing. You're also seeing it in finance, right? Again, sort of some of the traditional leaders in adopting new technology, new security. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up our questions. I want to thank everybody for joining today. I hope you found the presentation to be informative. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.